we've been in this series that we don't know who the person is until we come in that morning. And I was just thought instead of telling you who it was this morning, I'm gonna give you a couple of clues. And first one that thinks they know who we're talking about this morning, just say it out loud. And so one of the things about this person is he was originally named Joseph, from Cyprus. And another clue about this person, he was the cousin of John Mark. Tim, you're smiling. You want to go and say who it is? I see you smiling. Yes, it's Barnabas. So tonight, this morning we're going to be talking about Barnabas. I know last week Scott talked about Paul. So they sort of a lot of ways they go hand in hand. They traveled and did a lot of mission work together, and which was a good thing to go in pairs. So they did a lot of that, and he's actually, the apostles nicknamed him the Encourager, and that's what a lot of this lesson is going to be about today. That word it's mentioned a whole lot in the Bible, and if you look at it from a biblical sense, you look at that middle part of that word, and it spells courage. So it takes a lot of courage, especially during that time and when they were trying to spread the gospel and all that, to be able to do that. And so he was very talented preacher and teacher, and he got that name. He was and it stuck with him. I know lots of times that as kids we get nicknames, and Squid. I don't know where that originated from, but does anybody have a nickname that sticks out when you were a kid that you knew of a kid that you want to share? I know that's one of the questions that asks here in the book, but I thought of Troy first because everyone had thought of it with a nickname like that, but a lot of times, we get nicknamed, and it's sort of applies to the things that we're doing in our life. And like I said, I don't know what Squid, and I'm sort of afraid to ask. So okay, got that in high school. Okay, we'll leave it at that. And but I wanted to start off. We're going to be in Acts today, Acts chapter 11, and I wanted to read first from Hebrews 10:25, which I know a lot of you you're going to recognize that or already recognize that. But when it comes to encouragement, it says in Hebrews 10:25, and let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage and warn each other, especially now that the day of his coming back is drawing near. So I think that's so important, just like us here this morning, to be here to encourage and to support each other, and not only spiritual things, but everything that's going on in our lives. It's really necessary and important that we are here together and are able to do that and pray for each other and care about each other's needs. When I was looking at that. There's a lot of scripture in the Bible about encouraging, and I thought it was interesting. I just thought I would look up a few quotes on encouragement, and it's funny how those things, they sort of stick out in your mind. And like I said the last time I taught, you get those the Bible verses and devotionals sent to your emails or whatever, and they're sort of an inspiration for the day, and just to get something like that, it helps you to think about how you can be a better encourager, or how you can do whatever that topic is that day. But I thought I'd just read a couple that I had found that sort of stood out to me as being ways that we can encourage, and feel better about and doing that. And the first one I have is, if I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. And that was Martin Luther King said that. Memories of our lives, of our works, and our deeds will continue in others. That was Rosa Parks. When you come to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. That's Franklin Roosevelt. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Mark Twain. Try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value. That was Albert Einstein. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. That was anonymous, but things work out best for those who make the best of how things work out. That was John Wooden. People will forget what you said, what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. That was Maya Angelou. Faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. That was Martin Luther King again. People who wonder if the glass is half empty or full miss the point. The glass is refillable. And I know you've probably heard a lot of these, and I thought the interesting one to me is this was made 150 years ago by Abraham Lincoln, and he said, "America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves." And there's a lot of truth to that today, seems like, in the way that our society and everything is going. There was also one more that it sort of affected me this week, and I had written this down, and it was strange. This was I think John MacArthur. But it said, "You are the only Bible some unbelievers will ever read." And it was odd to me. It was I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I had an employee. There's about 20 people in my department, and he comes in and he says, "Can I talk to you a minute?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm having problems with my marriage." And so I said, "Well, I don't know a lot about that, but I'd be willing to listen." So he starts talking about it. He's married to a Native American, and she has her beliefs are sort of into the spiritual and how they're like the different gods and things like that. And he's starting to read his Bible and study his Bible, and so I just try to be an encourager and try to encourage him to keep on, doing what you're doing, studying your Bible. Try to, do what you can to do to have an influence on her. But it's going to be a big hill for him to climb because I think there's some other stuff going on as well. But the point is that we never know as we walk in life what's going to come up as Christians, and we also don't know who's watching us. People are watching us daily to see how we're acting. Are we acting like Christians? That can they see that in us? Can they confide in us when they have a problem like that? Because most people, sooner or later, are going to have an issue that they're going to have to seek out someone. So if they're not a believer, then we can be there to help them at least through the way we live. So that was I thought that was just some interesting quotes to start out with. As we get into the chapter 11, we're going to start with verses 19 through 22. John, would you mind reading that for us, Wheeler? Okay, thank you. At this time, just Antioch was probably it was the third largest city in the Roman Empire, but behind Rome and Alexandria. So there was a lot of work that could be done there. There was a lot of after the scattering of the Jews, a lot of them went out to different places. It's said here, and the first question that I have here is why might the church in Jerusalem have sent Barnabas to Antioch? And like I said, one of the reasons they had a large number of Gentile Gentiles in that area that were starting to believe. And with Barnabas being such a good teacher and the way he presented everything, he was always good to let others do and let them help. But he was also very established in that area. So they sent him there because that was something that they weren't used to. They were just used to the Jews, and now they were having Gentiles, especially in this city that at that time they were also still worshiping pagan gods, and so it was going to be a challenge to. They were willing and they were wanting to learn the word, but they had all these other obstacles. And like any kind of you think of our big cities today, that there's so many things that that can take your attention and your understanding, and so it was that was just a great opportunity, and they sent Barnabas because he was the one that was really the most qualified to do that. Yes, yes. That was coming in the next question. You're fine. You're fine. Uh, that was, and we'll just go right into that. If someone could read verses 23 and 24 of Acts 11. Thank you, David. Yes, the question now is, other than the fact that he had the reputation of being an encourager, which the encouragement, that was mentioned in that verse, but that what about Barnabas led the church at Jerusalem to select him to report to them? So it's like you said, Sarah Nell, and what David read. He was full of the Holy Spirit. He had a strong faith. He was gifted. I mean, actually, he was he was a gifted teacher and speaker, and that's what when you're going out and trying to spread the gospel, you have to have those things. You have to have dedication. It's almost like you're in a way chosen to do those things. I was talking to Dwayne earlier. We are talking about missionaries, and we're just those people that are in the mission fields and are doing that kind of work. I mean, that's a tough work, and you have to have that dedication and that gift really to be able to go out and do that. And it's something that us at home we have to support and be prayerful about, and that's a way that we can help them as well. So our next couple of verses is Acts 11, 25 and 26. If someone would like to read that. Thank you, Jesse. So Barnabas went to find he went to Tarsus to find Saul. Saul had been sent back to Tarsus. Saul was a new converted self, and he was he was basically sent back there for his own protection. I mean, they were still having issues with understandably with his past life, and it's hard. They were still trying to figure out Saul, and I think that's another way that you know Barnabas was an encourager. He went and sought Saul out. I mean, even though most people didn't know that about him a whole lot about him, Barnabas knew. Barnabas knew that he was filled with that same Holy Spirit, and he was passionate about what he had become a new believer, and he was willing. He was trying to share the word with others, just getting the others to let him do that. And Barnabas knew that it would have to take his being there to get others to buy into that. It also says there in this verse that it was at Antioch where the believers were first called Christians. So that's something that is interesting as well. They were called Christians or the Christ ones, and that was that was something that they had in common at that time, because a lot of they didn't a lot of them didn't have race or culture or even language. They just had the Christ's love, and that's what they had to use as the common factor in all that. Um, Knowing Barnabas's character, why do you think he recruited Paul's help? What work was there for Barnabas and Paul to do in Antioch? So I know that's I think that he knew that um, Barnabas knew that wise leaders, they needed help from others. Like I mentioned earlier, he knew that he needed Saul to help him, and Saul needed him as well. And actually, they went on their first missionary trip together, and earlier that it's just when you're a new Christian like that, it was good for both of them to be together. They were feeding off each other, so that was really a something that helped them to spread that word during that time. If on our topic, of encouragement, can you think of, would anybody like to share of someone that might have encouraged you? It's especially during your early, when you had first became a Christian, who would have encouraged you? I know a lot. We can probably mention our families, our minister, or our teacher. Is anyone else that anybody would like to share that had something to do that encouraging you to become a Christian? Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, John. Yeah, right, right. Yes, like John said, he had a teacher that encouraged him when he was in high school, and it's like you said, now that the kids now don't have that like we had back in the day. This why it's so important that we get them to vacation Bible school, or we get them to camp, or we get them to places where we can share the gospel, because we can't do that in the schools anymore. So it's in just when, like I said before, when we're out, we need to live our lives so that they can see at least, that we're living as Christians, and it's a real thing, and we want others to be involved with that as well. So yes, okay, right, yeah. No, that's a good point, Carol. That it when you it's when you say someone's name, it lets them know that you would, you're engaged in that conversation, and you care about them. So that's a good point. But exactly. Hmm. Yeah. Like if you couldn't hear Jesse, it's like, Jesse wandered in the military, and to be out, basically in another country, to have someone that they could have that encouraged them, and have a group of people. They were just not one person that encouraged them, but a group of people that encouraged them, that they could get together and meet as a church somewhere, or they might have even had a church. I don't know, but that's true. You have to have a good support system, and it means a lot to have that group to keep you encouraged and keep you directed in the right way. Okay, they met in each other's homes, which that's a great thing. That's especially when you're over in another country, and lots of time you don't even know the language of the people that are, or understand a lot of the language. In what ways can you encourage a new believer, or a new church member? What ways can we do that? I think a lot of, the things we just mentioned, like Carol said, we at least we want to when someone becomes a new believer, we want to do what we can to help them along the way, and we want to talk to them and mention their names. And exactly, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I was thinking, we can. What's the simplest thing we can do? We can call someone. I mean, that's, and even simpler than that is send a card. I mean, they're sort of getting to be a thing of the past. A lot of people are doing the email and all that kind of thing, but just to send a card. People like to get cards in the mail still, I think. I mean, I don't know if that's a old person thing like myself, but when you get a card with your something in the mail other than a bill, you don't want that. But just getting something with your name on it, it makes you. It's like when we do the birthdays here. You get cards from your fellow, you know, congregation for your birthday. I mean, all of us like that. We still got all like that. So, and we can visit them. That's our. It's not only, it's not just an elder or deacon thing to visit. Anybody can visit. It's part of. We're all, uh, uh, Christians together, and when we have someone that's a new Christian, it can fall on anybody to go visit. I mean, that means a lot too. I mean, if the person wants to have visitors, but that means so much, and that stands out as well. If you take that time to go visit them and actually show you care and the concern. So that really means a lot, especially when you're just becoming a new Christian, is to include them and show them that you're glad that they're here with us. Yes, yes, very very much so. I mean, that's why it's so important. When we have visitors, to make sure we find out a little bit about them, and like Marcia said, when we have people that move into the community, we need to make sure that we're doing those things to encourage them, that we want them to be here with us, and to study and be a part of this congregation, and just like the things that we just mentioned, those are easy things that we can do: a call, or a card, or a visit. And I know a lot of you are very good about that, very good about it. So I've been to visit a lot of people, and they'll say, we got a card from Teresa, or we got a card from, say, Judy, or somebody, and that means a lot to people. That really stands out in their minds that people care enough to think about them, not just when we're, in this setting, but when we're away from here. That's when we need to do that the most. So, but I just to think of Barnabas, you think of, that he was really, I think he was really a humble person. He was one of those people that he wasn't he wasn't afraid to let someone step up and take over to do that part as far as spreading the word. He was good at that himself, but I think he got something out of knowing that like say Paul, for example, that Paul, in as great as he was, that Barnabas had something to do with that, and he was willing to just step back and let him do that, and Barnabas still had his the things that he did. So he was very humbled. I mean, he was a humble person, and he it says in the Bible, and that he worked for a living. He kept working for a living, and when he at some point in those days, they had to be supported by something. He took and sold some of his land, and he gave the money and donated that land to the cause of the apostles. And that's something, that we do through our giving and things today. But to think back then to take that and something that you had owned and worked for, and it worked, and then you take it and you give this money to so that the gospel could be spread. So that's really amazing thing. So there's different ways that you can be an encourager, and Barnabas is a great example of that. So that's all I've got this morning, unless someone's got any questions. And like I said, I appreciate everybody being here this morning, and we'll close with a prayer.